Howdy folks, and welcome to the Hillbilly Kitchen. Today we're making Irish potato candy. This recipe dates back to the late 1800s, early 1900s, and it was actually started by a candy company in Pennsylvania. And they created this recipe as a St. Patrick's Day treat to kind of fill in that consumption of confections there leading up to Easter. I mean, you know, you go through Christmas and Valentine's Day and all that stuff, and then I guess folks wasn't buying a whole lot of candy, so they came up with a St. Patrick's Day treat, just for St. Patrick's Day. Now you might notice I said potato candy, not tater candy. That's because this stuff ain't got no taters in it. Anyway, I guess you can make anything you want. But what we're going to do, it's a really tasty, really easy, no-bake dessert or treat. And it's also an art project, kind of, for those of us who are artistically challenged. But what we're going to do is we're going to mix up our ingredients, and then we're going to make it look like little taters. You need, and I've got half of this mixed up and in the fridge already, because you do have to put it in the fridge and chill it before you shape it. And I didn't want 2 whole batches because I don't have a lot of folks around here to share it with right now. I'm making a little bit before St. Patrick's Day. But anyway, none of that stuff matters. I'm going to give you the ingredients for a whole batch, but half of it's already in the fridge. And some people are going to leave comments because they didn't hear me say that 2 times. This is half the batch. I'm giving you the ingredients for the whole batch. There's 3 times. I'm just joking, y'all. But you need 4 cups of powdered sugar, confectioner sugar, icing sugar, whatever you want to call it. And you need a half a stick of butter, which is 1/4 cup. You do want that at room temperature. You also need half of a block of cream cheese. You need 4 ounces of cream cheese. And you want that also at room temperature. Don't throw stuff into powdered sugar. It'll go everywhere. You need a little cinnamon, and we're going to roll our little taters in the cinnamon to give them the brown color after we're done. That's the art project part. You need about 1/8 teaspoon of salt, and that's really a wild guess. And you need 1 to 2 teaspoons of vanilla. If you're like me and you like a lot of vanilla, you know, just go for it. And you're going to need about 2 cups, 2.5 cups maybe, of shredded sweetened coconut. This is candy. It's got a lot of sugar in it. Okay, about 2.5 cups. Now, here's the hard part. You got to mix this up with an electric mixer till it's creamy without getting it all over the kitchen. And I tried the paper plate, you know, where they cut the paper plate and stick it on there. And I'll show y'all that sometime. It works all right. But what I generally do, and what I think works better, is I take one of my beaters off. And you can also use a whisk for this. But if you're terminally lazy like me, and you hate washing dishes, you can just use a beater. Actually, I think a beater works better than a whisk because it is going to get stuck in whatever you're using, and it's easier to knock it out of the beater and kind of start combining it so you don't have just that powdered sugar that blows everywhere. If you've been cooking any amount of time at all, I know you've blown powdered sugar all over your kitchen when you were making Christmas candy or whatever. I usually do it at Christmas time when I'm trying to make a bunch of candy. And I'm in a hurry because I'm trying to get it made and packaged up so I can give it to a lot of folks. It seems like at least once every Christmas I blow powdered sugar all over the kitchen with a mixer. And this would be, I mean, it was created as a St. Patrick's Day treat, but you could use it any time. And I honestly don't think I would have ever thought about combining cinnamon and coconut if it were not for this recipe. It seems like a strange combination of flavors, but it really does work well together. And if you had an allergy to cinnamon, and I know somebody who actually does, you could roll these in a little bit of cocoa powder. Because we're just, like I said, we're going to make them look like little taters, and then we're going to roll them in the cinnamon to give them the color, but you can also use cocoa powder. If you were rolling them in cocoa powder, you might want to add just a little bit of powdered sugar to your cocoa powder, because it can be a little bit bitter, and you might like that on the outside of the candy, but you might not too. All right, I think that's about the best I can do there. I kind of got it combined a little bit. You still want to start really, really slow with your mixer, or you're going to blow it everywhere. Every so often, stop and give it a little stir. Scrape everything off the sides. And I'm just kind of pulsing this. I'm not even turning the mixer on and just letting it run, and it's still kind of going everywhere. And I have a huge bowl here. Like I said, this is the hardest part, mixing it up and not getting it just blowing it all over. And I don't honestly think there is any easy way to do this. Maybe a tater masher. I have used a tater masher before, would be a better way to do it until you get it started. And then once you get it combined pretty good, you can cream it with the electric mixer. But making candy like this, it's messy. I was just wondering why on earth those candy makers chose coconut for a traditional Irish candy. I mean, all the pictures I've ever seen of Ireland, I don't think I've ever seen a palm tree. Do palm trees even grow in Ireland? Does anybody know? Okay, once you get it mixed up pretty well and kind of combined, and it turns into a dough, kind of like what we have here, kind of stir it around there and make sure you got everything in it. Scrape your bowl sides, and then you're going to put it in the refrigerator for an hour or two to firm up. But this is pretty daggone firm already, but it's sticky. You don't want to work with it right now. You can see how sticky it is. I mean, it's even sticking to my spatula. Now you can put it in some kind of container if you want, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and put it on me a piece of parchment paper and wrap it up and stick it in the refrigerator. And like I said, you want to leave it in there for an hour or two, until it's nice and stiff. And if it starts to soften up and get sticky when you're working with it, you can just stick it back in the refrigerator for a few minutes and let it firm back up. So, and that's kind of the only thing that can happen from this point, and there's not really much anything that can happen when you're making it anyway. I mean, it's no cook. It's not like you're going to overcook it. It's not like you're going to scorch it and burn it. Super easy one. And this is a good one for the kids, because at this point, when we get it out of the refrigerator, it's when it turns into an art project. So, wrap this up and put it in the fridge. And this is a half a batch, so you know you're going to have twice as much when you make it with the ingredient list that I gave you. Now this is our other half that has been in the refrigerator for, I don't know, an hour or two. And you're supposed to take about tablespoon size scoops and roll it out and then make it look like a tater. And I thought, since this is kind of oblong shaped, this might be a good thing. Kind of press it down a little bit maybe, and kind of scoop it out with this measuring spoon and just sort of see how that works. Yeah, that's going to work all right, I think. But you just roll it a little bit and kind of make divots in it, and it's supposed to look like a tater. Now, some of us are art challenged. Even more art challenged than making a blob of candy look like a tater. You know, put a few lumps and divots in it maybe. Or I don't know. It should be kind of oblong though. I am not an artist. If you're doing with this with the kids, maybe I'm not an artist, people. I'm the least creative person I know. But if you're doing it with the kids, it might be fun to see who can do the tater candy tater that looks the most like a real tater. Let somebody vote on it. but they are easy to make. They're fun to make. I would store them in the refrigerator. You can sit them out, certainly, and serve them if you're having folks over. And I know a lot of people do have St. Patrick's Day parties. So if you want to have a St. Patrick's Day party, you can sit them out on a table with some other stuff. And this is a pretty old recipe. A lot of people grew up with these. And they were obviously more popular in the North than in the South because they were created there. And they certainly are not the Southern potato candy with the peanut butter in it that actually has taters in it. I think y'all got some nerve calling something tater candy that ain't even got no taters in it. And they should look like a russet or an Irish potato too. We ain't making Yukon Golds or Redskin taters here. Anyway, that's all there is to making this, and you just keep going until you get them all shaped. And it would be really fun to make these with your kids. If you're looking for an activity and maybe you want to talk about St. Patrick's Day a little bit, this would be fun for the kids. Or if you're having a party or they're having a party and they want to have friends over, you could make these at the party. If you grew up eating these, leave me a comment. I saw a few different varieties. I mean, people were putting chocolate chips in them and all kind of stuff, but this is the traditional version. While I finish up my art project here, I want to share Proverbs 13:20 with you. He that walketh with wise men shall be wise, but a companion of fools shall be destroyed. I thought this verse was particularly appropriate for St. Patrick's Day because it seems like so many folks use St. Patrick's Day as an excuse to act fool rather than to share the gospel, which is what St. Patrick did. Your friends probably play a greater role in determining your path in life, your destiny, than your own actions do. Choose your friends wisely because they do determine your path. You will quickly become a part of what you are around. If you hang out with people who constantly partake in some sort of a vice that is destructive, you will partake in that vice and it will be destructive and it will lead to a path that destroys you. So choose your friends wisely. Find people who have the life that you are seeking and be friends with them. And that will lead you where you want to go. If they are wise enough to have the life you want, you will learn from them and be wise enough to have the life that you want. Anyways, these are some pretty tasty little spuds, and I have actually had a lot of fun making them. My kitchen's an absolute mess. I know kids would just love taking candy and shaping it like a potato and comparing how they come out looking. And they do look, I mean, they look kind of like a potato. I'm not going to win any art contests, like I said. But when you break them open, you can see they look a lot like maybe if you broke open a baked potato. Is that cool or what? And you can even see the little skin around the edge of it. I do hope you give these a try, and I hope you have a kid to make them with because that would be just so much fun. Before you go, please don't forget to click like and subscribe if you haven't already. Share our videos with your friends and leave us a comment. Happy St. Patrick's Day, folks. And until next time, remember to put God first.